Welcome to Spiritual Sunday in the Boca Raton Kabbalah Center and all over the world with all of you. So let's start because I want to see how deep we can get. Hopefully, I won't push too many buttons, but hopefully I will also. Because if we don't wake up, as we're about to say, if we don't wake up, the Rav and Karen, my teachers, used to talk about the guy who, leaves his house, gets in the car, 10 minutes later shows up at work. But it was like he got in the car and the next thing you knew, he's at work. So they would say, so who was driving the car? So most people do so many things just unconscious. And usually what wakes us up when something that we're used to doing doesn't work the same way. Okay, yes, I will. So I have one of those water filters, right? You pour the water in the thing and okay. So I pour the water in the thing in the sink. And of course I always lift it up to put it on the edge of the counter. And I know because I've done it before. I know I have to lift it high enough. So I put it on the counter and don't bump into the sink because then it spills all over. So guess what I did this morning? My focus, my conscious thought was somewhere else. My body was lifting it up, just not high enough, and I bumped right into the sink and right, all over. I was debating back then, so obviously I'm telling you the story, but should I tell them or not? Should I tell them or not? Okay, but again, consciousness is everything. And if we just keep doing things by rote memory, or even they call it muscle memory, they got all kinds of explanations for that, why we just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Well, you and I know because we learn here in the Kabbalah Center. We do the same thing over and over again because we've habitualized ourselves to that. We train ourselves to do it. The same mistakes, the same problems, the same actions. I mean, why do you call somebody a control freak? Why don't you just say I had a little difficulty with them that day? Because in your mind, and perhaps what they've trained also, they've acted as a controlling person for many, many, many situations that you've been involved with. So you call them a control freak or a drama king or queen. What does that mean? Somebody who's doing the same thing over and over and over again. You can define them. Oh, wow. So why do we have images or thoughts? Ooh, it's funny because it's right here in my notes for today. Okay, so just remind me, right, why things happen again and again. So let's do our affirmation, and then we'll get into this. And thank you all, especially you who are watching us from far away and staying up late, right? Must have put that in my mind. So here we go for you online. You hear it here. So let's say our affirmation today because we have to keep reawakening. We want to be out of the rote, just, what did they used to call it? Parroting. We don't want to just be parroting things. Okay, great. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is everything. Say it so many times, the person's not even conscious what they're saying. We have to be conscious when we're doing it. So let's pause for that 1 second and just realize I am awakening a clearer, stronger, more light, connected consciousness from this moment. So we say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Now, you and I have been here so long, we say it every week, every time we're together. The key that we want to be very conscious of, all human beings. All. That means no exclusions. Everyone. So we're going to get there. So what I wanted to start with, let's look at the world a little differently. So I thought we could call it like this. And if you're brand new, we don't believe God is a being, limited, whatever. We really talk about in the Kabbalah Center the light force of the Creator, the energy that most people are actually referring to when they say God, but it's the emanated energy of this thing called the Creator. right? So the light force is really what gives us breath and life and all the physicality and allows us to exist in this world and empowers everything. So, little metaphorically here, let's play God for a moment. So we're looking down on earth, and you know what? We see all the chaos and confusion. We say, we've got to send a hero, right? We're going to send somebody who will be a leader, lead people, create some kind of relief from the pain and suffering and the chaos and all of this. But of course, look on earth and there's like positive and negative people. There's, so to speak, good and bad people. Just if you are new, I want to make sure you realize we understand there are no bad people, evil people. They're people created by the Creator who use their free will to do bad things. But they are not bad people because God can't create anything but perfection. And God created every human being on earth. Okay, we're all essentially a piece of the light. So we're looking down, we see there are people, so I'm almost thinking like a football game, right? You have the offensive team is the one that wants to get the football to the goal line. The defensive team is the one that's trying to stop it. So in a similar way, we have this going on down here on earth, only it's manifested through people. There are people who want to stop other people from doing good. So now going back to envisioning ourselves as the Creator, and we're looking down, we say, okay, we want to send this person who's going to, get through all the mud down here and lead people to salvation, to peace, to harmony, getting out of all the trouble. But we're worried about the people who are going to try and stop that. So what do we decide? You know what? Let's send somebody sort of in a disguise of a bad person. Or we'll set up situations where it looks like they're bad. Like when you watch a spy movie, what's a double agent? Or what's an undercover agent? The good guy who has to play for a while the bad guy in order to find out what's going on to prevent really bad things from happening. Yes? Okay, they're getting it out there a lot faster than you are. I see eyes going like this, right? So that's the idea. We want to avoid, so you got to play like that double agent. So here's where it shows up. So what if you have, here's the hero, and you want to send the hero out. So you make him look like he's a young kid. You give him 10 brothers who are big, strong, I'm debating because I know where the story is going to go, but technically they're righteous people, but, they have their way of looking at things, let's say. Right? So here they are. They're very powerful brothers. The parents are amazing people, strong, powerful, whatever. So if you're the opposing team, you look and say, nothing good can come out of this. So you don't bother. You go off looking for where you can make sure that the good doesn't show up. If you're following me, I hope. So you don't expect this little kid with all this sort of trouble in the family or whatever, conflict in the family, to be able to do anything. It's like right in the pocket of the negative energy, right? Oh, they're just creating negativity. So we learned that the Bible is a code. The Zohar says only, okay, let's use the word. Basically, only an imbecile would believe the 5 books of Moses only on their literal level. We believe the people they lived, they did what they did, but the most important thing is, what can we learn? What spiritual technology can we learn from the stories in the 5 books of Moses for 2023? Because the stories are from thousands of years ago. And I don't know about you, but I have a vacuum cleaner. 3,400 years ago, 4,000, they didn't have a vacuum cleaner. Right? So then what does it have to do with me? They're sweeping the floor. I have a vacuum cleaner. Yeah, I see some of you smiling. I know you have cleaning people. You don't even touch the vacuum cleaner. Okay. Oh, maybe they had that back then too, but they used the broom. Okay, so anyway, the point being, so here's the story, if you remember, if you go back into Genesis, the story of Joseph and his 11 brothers, the 12 sons of Jacob, the patriarch Jacob. But what does this story look like? Here's Joseph, this young kid, and according to sort of the commentators, the physical part is Joseph looks like a kid. He's 17 years old, and like many 17-year-olds today, when he wakes up in the morning, he's making sure his clothes are just right. He's making sure he's coiffed himself properly, this. And here he's got 10 brothers, like highly, highly evolved, conscious people. And they're looking at him like, this guy's just trying to disturb the unity, the light we're channeling, the good things we can do. Who are his parents? Jacob the patriarch, right? Jacob the patriarch, Rachel the matriarch. So very powerful people, but relative to that moment, he looks like he's just trying to disturb. And plus, there's stories that say he was sort of tattling on his brothers. Let's just put it that way. He was tattling on his brothers. And, it was just his misperception. This is how the story goes. So what happens? His brothers say, we got to get rid of him. He's stopping unity. And unity is the key of everything, right? The whole point of being in the world now is to unify the soul that exists in 8 billion people. But if you look at the body, so people say, I don't like what they say, what they do, how they act, and this, so who wants to be unified with them? But the sad part is, I need you, from your point of view, you need to be connected to the 8 billion pieces of the light of the Creator, technically your soul, that just happens to exist in those 8 billion bodies. And this is why we talk about, you read from the Zohar, scan the Zohar, and you channel light to access the light in the heart and soul of those 8 billion people. You're not accessing their bad behavior. In fact, the opposite, which we also emphasize, you're helping to get rid of their bad behavior. Because you turn on light, darkness goes away. So here's Joseph's brothers. They're looking at him. They say, we got to get rid of him. So now comes all the disaster of the story. Joseph, he gets sold into slavery. He gets picked up by, one of the heads in the aristocracy of Egypt, right, which was the greatest nation on earth at that point. He gets his boss's wife tries to seduce him. Of course, he restricts. She's got to blame him. He gets thrown in jail. He's in jail for 22 years. He finally gets out because he's interpreting a dream of Pharaoh. All these things. And what happens? He becomes the second to Pharaoh. Basically, the leader of the known world, the one who brought salvation to the world. Because if you read the simple part of the story, he collected crops from all the people around, anybody who wanted to buy because there was a famine going on. So he was saving up all the crops so he could supply the world with sustenance. So in the end of the story, he becomes what we call Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph the Righteous, one of the highest people to ever walk on this earth. But the story goes, and now you're getting the idea, he had to look like he was a little kid, like what we call the opponent in our head, the negative energy, the evil inclination, the ego, whatever name you want to give it, that's in our head. It's not out there. It's in our head, right? Didn't bother with him. But through everything he was going through, it was ultimately to bring him to be able to save the world by what he did. How do we know that? Because within the code of the written Bible, the 5 books of Moses in the written scroll, there's dots. And the Kabbalists teach us anytime you read in the original script, when there's a dot or some of the letters are written bigger than others, this is all spiritual technology. Basically, it's saying that the light, the Holy Spirit, it's called the Shekinah, was involved in the whole story from beginning to end. That Joseph had to be, looked at as like lesser by his brothers, sold into slavery, have all this stuff happen to him, be thrown into jail, right? Because the wife of his boss accused him of, trying to attack her, what have you, and then he's in jail. But if you read the story all along the way, he was like on top of everything. He was thrown in the pit. He was protected from all the snakes and the scorpions. He got taken away. He became basically the head of the household of his boss. He wasn't the slave. It says technically, literally, the only thing that was not under his control in the house of this person who was like, I don't know, almost let's call it like the vice president kind of thing that we might relate with. The only thing that wasn't under his control was the wife. Everything else was his decision what to do, etc., etc. He gets thrown in jail. What happened? The warden says, here's the keys, you take care of everything. It's like he wasn't in any of those situations from his point of view. Externally, of course he was. but he was beyond it. And that's the lesson we want to understand. So it says because there were two dots over this sort of inconsequential word, that if you literally looked at it sort of grammatically, there's no reason. And this is the sign for us that the Holy Spirit, the Shekinah, was there. The light was guiding this whole story, like we were saying, so that Joseph would ultimately come to the position to be able to feed and save the world from starvation. Okay, just making sure that the story's settled there. So the light was there all the time. The light was guiding everything. But you and I, sometimes, maybe not so much anymore, at least when we're conscious because we're learning in the center. But you look at the world, when the world looks at the chaos that's going out there, do you think that people perceive in any way, shape, or form is being not guided as in the light is telling people to do bad things? But who meets who and when meets when and all of that is guided by the power of the light, which wants, like in the story, only good, only peace, only harmony, only unity, only oneness among all humanity. The Garden of Eden, heaven on earth. So there has to be a guide to that. The same way, go back to football. If you know American football, sorry for those of you who thinking of soccer, but even that you could work, I just don't know it well enough. Right? So if you think about it, the quarterback, when he's got the ball, it doesn't just say, hey, you guys on the other team, we're just going to run straight up the field. No, he's got to try and avoid them. So he sends out, one fake guy to run and look like he's going long for a pass, and the other guy, and then he's handing around his back, the handoff and all this stuff. They're doing all kinds of stuff to fool the opposing team. The goal is still one goal. The goal of basically both teams is when they get the ball, cross the end zone. Score a goal. But the way they do it, the methodology, they go here, they pass, they run, they try and fake, all the various plays in sports. So why, if that's true in sports, why isn't it same cosmically? So we're reading in this one story that idea, that it's all mixed up so that people don't perceive that Joseph is actually being led through all the scenario to become second to Pharaoh and have control over all the wealth of the world. Technically, if you really study the story Kabbalistically, he controlled Pharaoh. He was really the king of Egypt. He was really in control, literally, of everything. He just let Pharaoh play sort of the part, if you will. Okay, that's it. So you'll have a great time. No. Okay. So, what does it have to do with us? Now we're getting down to the brass tacks, right? So how many of you have no chaos, no confusion, you're just blissed out all the time? Okay, just checking. So we all have some form of chaos and confusion. Now we'll start to relate, meaning sadly it's been thousands of years that people who don't learn Kabbalah, who read this story, like the Zohar says, only see it literally. And they'll learn a little psychology. Well, Jacob shouldn't have shown favor to Joseph when he had other children. Okay, it's a nice lesson. But that's not going to bring peace to the world. That's not going to stop death and disease and chaos and hatred and violence and jealousy and guilt and shame. Yes, it's a nice idea. I'm not denying that. Parents should try and, show equality or whatever to all their kids. But that's not the lesson. But people look. They get confused. How can good people have trouble? How can bad people get away with good things? All that kind of chaos and confusion. So what happens? People stop believing. There's no good in the world. It's always going to be that way, right? You'll never stop the pain and suffering of the world. No, that's what you and I are learning. We're fighting that by bringing more and more people to the consciousness that the light is infinite, and that's what we want to keep in mind. The light is infinite, which means what? The light is everywhere present and always accessible. There's no human being who cannot access the infinite light of the Creator. But we have free will. So it's not going to happen without our action. My cell phone, although sometimes I do think it has free will, in simple terms it doesn't. It's a machine. Cause and effect. If I'm dialing your number, and I want to push 3, but I push 2. What shows up? 2. So I get the wrong number. If I push the wrong letter, the word gets misspelled. That's the way it works. There's an exact cause and effect. Exact. Where do we lose our certainty and our trust that there is an infinite light? When we don't see the cause and effect. But because we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means we're limited. And even in one way, and you don't have to believe, so if you don't believe it, just keep going with me and go investigate or ask questions of your Kabbalah teacher or go online, whatever. But it will also continue, and this is one of the biggest blockages. If a person doesn't believe in reincarnation, past lives, then of course the world's going to look unfair. If there's a God that's almighty and all-powerful, how can they let that God let people be born poor, suffering, diseased, missing limbs, things like that? But if you open up, which as I know, on the fundamental origin of the three major religions, reincarnation was an original teaching. It may have been cut out, it may have been not taught over the millennium, but you go back to its origins, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, all have reincarnation as a fundamental teaching. Because otherwise, like this, it won't make sense. How could a creator allow all that bad stuff? No. If a person puts their finger in the electric socket, how come God doesn't stop the shock? Because we know the Creator gave us free will, gives us the power to have infinite bliss, gave us the technology, although people have also lost it over the millennium. And this is why the center for 100 years now has been open to every human being to come learn the technology of the soul, which is what this Kabbalah is, technology of the soul. And even though we're all black, white, yellow, brown, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, and all different in various ways, the soul operates on the same system. But like the phone, going back to that, I do with my phone what I want. In fact, not that I would do it, but I could throw it at you, not even use it as a phone or texting or picture or whatever. Go hit somebody with it. It's also a use of it. My free will. I use it the way I want, you use it the way you want. So we're using our soul's energy the way we've decided, under all of the delusion of the physical world, because we have that parasite we planted in our mind to give us the opportunity to truly have an experience, the true feeling of happiness and joy. What does it mean when people say they take, when one will look at the other, oh, they took that for granted, or sometimes we'll admit it, we took for granted. What does take for granted mean? Oh, we don't appreciate. Okay, what does that mean? We don't value. We don't see the good in it. We got so used to it, it's like, nothing. But the moment a person gets choking, heaven forbid they swallow something and they're choking. While they're choking, how much do they appreciate if they take a moment, not to, like that, but you get the idea. How much do they now look back and say, oh, they appreciate when they didn't have that piece of whatever blocking them, when they could breathe normally and this and this. But you and I, right now, were you thinking about your breath 2 seconds ago? No, you're just breathing. Take it for granted. It's there. Heaven forbid there's something like a choking or whatever. Now we start to appreciate, right? Or when a person has a near-death experience. Oh, when you hear them, yes, now they look at life differently. The issue is for how long? A week, a year, 5 years. At some point they go back to just taking things for granted again because it's so common every day. They wake up every day, they're breathing every day, the body's working every day. Yeah, until something's not working. So this is what you and I are looking. We're looking at how the world is not fixed. The issue is we have to look at it and understand there is an exact cause and effect. So everything going on is cause and effect. And this is where, because of the latest events these last couple years, I may be pushing some of your buttons or some of your buttons may be pushed, but please just pause for a moment and think. I'm not asking you to just blindly believe what I'm saying, but at least start to think about it. Just start to think about it. There is cause and effect. Everything is exact. So my teachers used to use the idea in simple terms. The Rav would say, Rav Berg, A thief, a person who wants to steal. It's already in their mind. They're looking for a place to steal from. They walk up and down. They walk around a neighborhood. Why does the thief pick that house to rob? So, of course, our brain, our 1% logical brain was, well, there are people home in that house, the lights are on, and there's dogs. We'll get all of the justification and rationalization. But in the end of the story, there are people who break in and steal from houses that have the bars and the dog and the rest of it like that. And there are people who steal from the ones that have no light on and this and this. We have to ask, because we're the Kabbalah Center students, why did that thief who was determined to steal pick that house? Because for whatever reason, and this is not to point and judge those people, it's to understand the system and ultimately have compassion that there's still pain and suffering in the world. I don't care if it's your worst enemy who's suffering. We have to feel the pain of that person because they are not created to have pain and suffering. They're not created to do the dastardly things they may be doing. They're created to be, like we say, love, kindness, and compassion. But if we don't wake up the soul, the light of the Creator inside, then over millennium and lifetimes, they're going to be so caught up in their mud, they'll do dastardly things. So we have to understand why. Why do people turn on the news and get exactly at the moment that they're having trouble with somebody in their environment, they get the news item about somebody having a similar problem over there, and they go, yeah, I hate that guy. Terrible person like this. Why? Because they're having a problem here, so they're watching something that's taking place in some other part of the world somewhere, nothing to do with them in any way, shape, or form, but suddenly now they're angry, they're upset, and they're hating on that person over there, through the news item. Why? Because they're hating on this person who did whatever they did or said whatever they said. So we have to start waking up and realize it is cause and effect. Everything. So like the stories of Joseph, and I don't want to go through that, but the Kabbalists give us all of the past lives and this, why it had to happen that way and why each person had to play that role. So the same thing. Look at you and me. Tell me you have never been a little short-tempered with somebody you love. A little impatient with somebody you love. Why? You think, well, if I love them, I shouldn't be impatient, I shouldn't be unkind, no bad thing should... No! Why does it happen? So, whatever, a person driving down the street, they got caught. They're hurt, they want to rush home to dinner, to eat, they're starving, whatever it is, and suddenly there's a traffic jam. Now they're hating on all the people in the traffic jam. So when they get home, they don't suddenly just erase all those feelings. So what will happen? They're rushing to get the dinner, and during the dinner, while they're trying to eat, the kid is coming over and saying, hey, mom, dad, blah, 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 blah. Go, leave me alone. But it's the kid you love. You follow? But in that moment, because of the traffic jam and all the negative emotions, just carried it home. So if you expand that out, and I hope you're getting the idea, you see what's going on with 8 billion people. Why does one country want to take over another country? Same thing. Because the leaders who have the ability to send the armies out, whatever, they had a bad day. They had a bad day at work. They had a fight with their husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, the kids, something not going their way. So they just take it out and say, okay, we're going to take my whole country and we're going to go attack that whole country. Yeah, on the 1%, the voice in their head that we call Satan, the opponent, the adversary, the evil inclination, the saboteur, whatever name you want to give it, the challenger, gives them justification. Well, those people, they did something bad to you. Yeah, okay. But how do you know in the past life you didn't do the bad thing to them? They're just paying you back. Now you're starting it again. You remember, oh God, I can already hear the voice. I know who you are. This is okay. Because I know I'm going to get feedback. In America, there was the story of the Hatfields and the McCoys. Right? Whatever it was, back in the early 1800s, there was a real fight between the two families, and it just became a tradition. Every next generation that came along were just hating on the other family until they finally got to, why do we hate on them? I mean, imagine after 50, 60, 80, 90 years, they forgot what they're fighting about, but they're still fighting because it's a tradition. That's what we're seeing going on in the world. One person... We know, let's put it in fundamental terms, practical, down to earth, the great Kabbalist, the Baal Shem Tov, back in the 1700s, made it very simple. He says, everything is a mirror. When you look around the world, even though physically, like now, we look at different people, you see whatever, this is Boca, you're over there in Macedonia, Hong Kong, all the great places you're at, it looks different, but everything is a mirror. And as we will hold that consciousness, what is it really saying? If I point my finger out there at somebody because they're doing whatever it is, I have to realize there's an aspect of that in me. May not be on the same level, may not externally look the same, right? You could point your finger at somebody and everybody, they have it on video and this and that, whatever, it's clear. They went into somebody's house and they stole something. So you say, I hate thieves, hate thieves, hate thieves. But look, how do you steal? You're stealing the light of the Creator inside you every time you're acting with your tiny bit. Jealousy, fear, guilt, shame, resentment, etc. You're stealing the light of the Creator because it's not meant to be in the mud of those bad behaviors. It's meant to be shining out, to be a beacon of light to people so they see the way how to get out of their mud. So it's also a form of stealing. So yes, it's not the same form. You didn't steal money, you didn't steal whatever, the car, whatever it is, but you stole. And you go right down the line. It's all the same thing. So the most valuable, because in the end of the day, who's the only person you live with 24/7? Yourself. The only person. I don't care how close you think you are to a loved one. And even if you're with them 24/7, literally, you're not living with them 24/7. Because where do we all live? Ultimately, here. Between our ears. We all live in our mind. And that's why we talk about that's the only war there is, because of the voice of that opponent, that adversary, and we have the voice of our pure soul. And that's where the arguments are. So even if you're with somebody 24/7 and you love them extremely, you're in your own head, and every now and then they're going to do something that in your, like Joseph's brothers. They looked at Joseph, they said, no, it looks like he's doing something not so good. And he comes no less after they're already looking at him like a little kid. He comes to tell him a dream. I had a dream, which you and I know in Kabbalah is a portent of the future. He had a dream that they were all going to bow down to him. His parents and his 11 brothers. His parents, Jacob and Rachel, the matriarchs and patriarch, were going to bow down to them. So the brothers said, that's it. That's it. We got to get rid of this kid. You understand? So things look different. They look chaotic and confusing. So you and I are learning, no, when you pause, you can start to see the light in everything. There's a great Kabbalist. His name was, they called him Nahum Gamzu. Means, and also this. Because why? No matter what happened to him, he was so pure, and I don't want to call it naive, but let's say just simple. He just understood the light is infinite, and he was just a conduit. So anything happened to him, he would say, Gamzula Tova. This is also for good. This is also for good. So the story, because the time is going, basically, he got stolen from him. This everything that happened to him, he'd say, Gamzula Tova, Gamzula Tova. So, okay, just cut to the chase of the story. So because he was so pure, whatever, his community that had to raise taxes, you're talking medieval times, raised money to pay the taxes, and he was going to be the carrier to take it to the king. Well, on the way, he had to stop in an inn, and he's telling these people, he says, yeah, I'm taking, I'm so proud. They picked me to take all this money and go to the king and pay our taxes. So the people he's talking to are thieves. So in the middle of the night, they take bags of sand, they put it in the box that he had, they take his money, and he just goes on. Right? So he gets to the king, he says, here, I'm from whatever. I'm from Boca, I'm paying, the taxes that we owe you. The king opens up the bags, he sees dirt. He says, what's the matter? You're making fun of me? Off with your head. What does Nahum say? Gamzula Tova, this is also for good. How many of you and I could say that? He saw the light in everything. Joseph, how could Joseph rise? How could he be in control of the jail? How come he could not be attacked by the snakes and the scorpions? How come all that stuff that he came out on top? Because he, in essence, saying the same thing. Gamzula Tova. The light is in the business, and I'm being guided with the light, and I may not see the light's plan, but I know in the end of the story, I'm filled with the light of the Creator, you're filled with the light of the Creator, everybody. So the end of the story, we're all going to be righteous people. In the behavior, we're all righteous now, pure and perfect beings of light, we say here, But we're not acting that way all the time. Our job is to act that way more and more until it's 100%. Till it's 100%. So now the king's off with his head, and as they're getting ready the next day, the king, for whatever reason, the angel, it says, in the upper worlds, the angels, the great sages were, talking, said, this isn't right. So they send Elijah the prophet, if you know the story. Elijah comes down as whatever, a common person, goes to the king. He says, no, king, what they're bringing you is this magic sand. You throw it in the air at your enemies, and it becomes like arrows, and it gets rid of the bad people. So the king goes and tries, and sure enough, that works. So they take Nahum and they bring him back, and the king says, look, I want to reward you. I'm sorry that I threw you in jail. I thought it was so bad. But here, let me give you what you were supposed to pay in taxes. Let me give you that in double. Take it back to your community. So he's on the way back. He stops at the same inn. The thieves are there. They're looking at him like, how did he survive? They figured the king had to kill him. So he tells them the story, I don't know what happened, but they were bags of magic sand, that the king won the war, whatever it was. So the thieves thinking this, wow, we know where we got the sand. So they go in, they dig up the sand, and they go take it to the king, right? And of course, Nahum the whole way, Gamzula Tova, Gamzula, this is also good. So of course he goes back with double the money and no taxes, everybody gets their money back. And what happens to the thieves? Open up the bag, the king says, oh, and they say, yo, this is the magic sand, like what? He throws it, nothing, off with their heads. Off with their heads. So we have to realize, as we will go with the light will always help us rise above all of the physical chaos. But you have to work. It's not an easy thing. You can tell me all you want. I'm a good person, I'm a good person, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. And I'm not denying it. If you're watching this or you're a student of the center, for sure I know you're good people. But like we said before, we still have a little anger, jealousy, insecurity, fear, guilt, shame, annoyance, whatever it is. We still have our tikkun, our correction to do. We still have mistakes we make. So our job is keep going, keep going, keep going. So you can't just say, I'm a good person and that's it, because you're comfortable in the level of goodness. If I ask you, and I want to get there, we're in a time miraculous. I don't care if you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish. This is the season of light. It's the season of miracles. Hanukkah, Kabbalistically Hanukkah, is, again, cosmic. There's no Hanukkah holiday because thousands of years ago, the few of the Maccabees defeated the great Greek army. That's what people will tell you if they're not learning Kabbalah and they're traditional. Well, that's really it. The few defeated the many, and we took back the temple from being destroyed. Really? If that were the case, then how come the miracle of Hanukkah is about one can of oil that was supposed to last one day, lasted 8 days? Why isn't the celebration about really the few people, the 13 people who beat the great Greek army? That's not the miracle. The miracle is that one little vial of oil lasted 8 days. That's the miracle. So it's a cosmic 8 days of miracles. The Kabbalists call it hidden light, or ganuz, just so you'll know the term, hidden light. And here's the hard part. So take a breath, open your heart and soul, open your mind, just to be willing to consider. Organuz, the hidden light, even the simple idea of the term hidden or concealed. If something is concealed, what does it mean? It could be right in front of you, but it's concealed by something, right? You get the idea, right? Okay, here. So I'm trying to do, how can I do for both of you? Okay, so here's our affirmation, right? And if I put this in front of it, it's concealed. It's here, but it's concealed from view. So where is our hidden light, which means the Creator implanted 100% of its light in our soul. We have 100% of the resources to have eternal bliss. He's inside of us. Our job is to express it. So then if we're expressing 80% of our goodness, our love, our compassion, our generosity, our tolerance, our humility, where's the other 20%? That's the hidden light. And what's concealing it from blessing us 85, 90, 95, and 100%? What's concealing it from being revealed in our life? The fact that we're looking at that person. I can't stand them. Drama queen, they did a bad thing to me, look what they're doing in the world. Everybody, and please, I'm saying this respectfully, but we have to open our mind. Every one of us have an anti-someone, something. I don't care who you are. It doesn't have to be big, but we all are anti-something. I don't care if you consider it religion, color, race, language, political party, economic status, the car they drive, the society they live in, the social status, whatever. Every one of us had an anti-something. If you're willing to admit it, just think of one part of that. That's where your concealed light is. It's concealed by your animosity towards that person or that group or whatever. That's where it is. So you want your greater blessing? You've got to be willing to send light from your heart and soul to their heart and soul, which will disempower their darkness, because the only thing that will get rid of darkness is one thing, in the physical world, no less the spiritual. You walk into your dark room. 38 years, I heard it from my teachers. You walk in a dark room, how do you make darkness go away? Tell them how smart you are, tell them how spiritual you are, tell them all the stuff you know, how whatever, how rich you are, how popular you are. Now, you're an influencer. You're the highest influencer on social media. Does it make the darkness go away? There's only one thing will make darkness go away. Turn on a light, a little birthday candle, a pen light. It doesn't matter what form of light. Light is the only thing in the universe will take away darkness. So then the light of the Creator is the only thing will take away all the pain and suffering, and ultimately the only thing will take away death from the world. Because death was also not a part of the Creator. Could the Creator die? No. So then death cannot be part of a Creator. It's you and I who created death. The Creator didn't create death. It's only you and I who can do the hurtful, angry, resentful, jealous, egotistical things. Creator doesn't. It's not what the Creator created, but it gave us free will. So temporarily we can. Because in the end of the story, we're not going to be happy with ourselves. You and me, as you grow spiritually, you start to have guilt. Guilt is the first sign you're changing. Because when you did the action, you had no guilt. Because the opponent in your head justified it. They said a nasty thing. I showed them I was stronger than them. I said more nasty stuff to them till they backed off. Yeah, but then as you grow spiritually, you say, oh my God, why did I do that? I'm hurting myself more than them. Because I'm not using my light of the Creator in the right way. Heaven forbid, so it has to come back with a short circuit. Right? Anger has to come back to the person. Jealousy comes back to the person. Guilt, shame, greed, anger, whatever it is, cause and effect. Cause and effect. So they have their cause and effect, I have mine. You have yours, everybody has their own. But it looks like right now we're all listening to Spiritual Sunday. So we're all in the same situation, but we're all in our own path. Like airplane. You ever been on an airplane? Did all 400 people come from the same place? No. When they arrive at their destination, do all 400 people go to the same place? No. But they're in the common space for that trip. So we're in the common space in whatever it is. The news item you hear, the people you work with, the family environment you're in, whatever. Common space, but we all live our own life within that. And we're all coming from and going to different destinations, even if we're all together for the next 1,000 years. We're all living here, not out there. So you want your organuz, you want all your blessing? Start sending light to the people that you have any hurt, animosity, or whatever towards. Because you're the first beneficiary. It gets you out of their mud. Because that's how you look at it. Oh, but think about it. If you have resentment towards somebody, whether you realize it or not, you've handcuffed yourself to that person, and everywhere they go, there's a part of you that goes with them. So they do the nasty thing to other people that they did to you that you resent them for. You're just picking up more of that nasty energy. And then you wonder why your life's not getting any better. Because you hooked yourself up to that person that you resent, and that person that you have jealousy of, and that person that you have, judgment on, and all of that. So you're being torn into 8 billion different directions at the same time. No wonder you have confusion. And you don't see everything clearly. I'm not trying to, I'm in it too, trust me. Right? So this is it. The hardest way, because again, you cannot remove the chaos from the world of chaos. The physical material world is the world of chaos. Like when it's a dark room, you can't remove darkness in the darkness. You got to bring light to take away the darkness. So you have to bring the light metaphorically from above, channel it through you into the darkness you see of the chaos, confusion, whatever you're looking at, and the light will create illumination, and the light will wake up the souls of those people. And when the light wakes up our soul and their soul, we will be more light-like, love, kindness, and compassion, and less of the negativity. So let's start and think. The light is always here. The light's always looking after us. The light is always guiding us towards heaven on earth. It's omnipotent and omnipresent. So wherever we go, we got to remember, we're filled with the light of the Creator, and the light of the Creator is infinitely around us. Keep reminding ourselves. If those of you who might have listened to Michael Berg yesterday, he was reminding us, inside each of us is literally the power to remove all the pain and suffering of the world. In each of us is the ability to change the world. So let's start letting the world benefit from our light. Let it beam out. Show the world how to live in the light by living more in the light, with greater love, kindness, and compassion. And teach others then, by the example, that if you can do it, they can do it. If you can overcome your anger and act with kindness, if you can overcome your jealousy and act with gratitude, and you can overcome, your resentment and act with forgiveness, if you can do it, they can do it. When they see enough of us doing it, everyone will come to believe they can do it, because as we're doing it and shining our light, we're waking up the light inside them. And therefore, it's you and I who are bringing salvation to this world. Don't wait for the Creator to do it. From the Creator's point of view, there's no chaos to be saved from. It's only our point of view. We live in the corruption of chaos, pain, suffering, and death. Creator doesn't. Creator lives essentially in a perfect world. So it's up to us to show the example, set the example, that the world will be able to wake up and live with greater unity, peace, and the miracle of peace on earth. And if you think about it, we're in this season. The greatest miracle is that, and this is what all the great sages were teaching, whether you call them Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, Buddha, whoever, they were in essence teaching that the miracle of peace on earth is implanted inside of us. So let's make this the season of light and the season of miracles. We live it, we show the example, we send light reaching in, because we know with a greater certainty every day that inside those people and every person is the infinite light of God, so that we can draw it out, so we can finally live as everybody wants to live. Utopia, peace, heaven on earth. God bless. Thank you. So let me just put it here. This is the time that we do our offering, and then we'll have our meditation on one of our 72 names. It's a free will offering, but like we said, the more we appreciate the light has guided us up to this point and even helped us through our troubles and our problems, then the more we want to help other people to do the same. And the center, whose ultimate mission, just to keep reminding you, is put the Zohar in whatever form, the pocket Zohar, the sacred Zohars, the set of Zohar, just put it around the world. When there's enough Zohar in the world, which just channels the infinite light of the Creator, and the source of the Christian Bible, Jewish Bible, Muslim Bible, Hindu Bible, it's the source of chemistry, physics, math, quantum physics, anything you can think of, it is literally the blueprint of the universe. So the faster we spread these, the faster light will be revealed and take away the darkness. And at this point, we're just appreciating, one, your support and your help, but also reminding you, the more you can help us spread this and bring people to this wisdom, the more blessing comes back to you, because it is cause and effect. Just don't expect it all the time instantly. It may take a week, it may take a month, sometimes it has to take a year, because it has to go through its process. Not everything happens instantaneously, right? But it can, and it's doing more so now. So this is why we take this time just to bless the offering, because we want to put our consciousness. So those of you here physically, just hold your gift in your hands, because we know money is just a vessel. And like anything else, people use money. Look at what goes on in the world. People use money to put other people out of business, to make other people, force other people into bad stuff, or you can use it like this, to bring light to the world. It's not money is good or bad. It's just a tool. It's an energy. How we use it determines. So let's just put our love and our blessing in it. because it's a container. Love, blessing, gratitude, appreciation. Even for the awareness, if it happened to you today to be aware of somewhere that you're blocking the light, somewhere that you acted in a reactive way, the awareness and the discomfort or the pain you feel is growth. It's advancement. Have appreciation for that. Means the light of your soul is shining brighter, that you are able to see where you're holding yourself back, where you blocked yourself, where you acted in a way that you don't want to do anymore. And let's put our love in this gift. Because Kabbalistically, the word for love is the same numerical value as the word for unity, oneness. So as we put our love in it, it comes from your heart and soul. Through the projects of the center, it will reach to the heart and soul of every human being on earth. And the more the heart and soul of 8 billion people are interconnected, bonded, the less space there is for the hatred, the violence, the anger, the judgment, the resentment, the darkness. Where there's light, there cannot be darkness. So we send this out, that it goes, brings this illumination to the world, that the darkness will disappear, the light will shine eternally, and we will all have peace, love, unity. And together we say, Amen. So now for you here, so we have this. If you're new, you look at it, 3 Hebrew letters or 3 Aramaic letters, that's what we've called them. But it's actually one of the 72 names of God, which means it's a frequency of the light of the Creator that's made up of 3 particles of light. So the Kabbalists say each one of these is literally just a particle of the infinite light of the Creator. This one has a name, Resh, He, Ein. It combines together, whether you call it diamond in the rough, or essentially finding the good in the bad. What's a diamond in the rough? A piece of coal. Doesn't look like a diamond, you're not going to put it in your ring, but under enough pressure, like Karen always said, under enough pressure it becomes a diamond. So in the same way, we want to voluntarily pressure ourselves to be more kind and compassionate, etc. One, we prevent the outside world from having to do it, but at the same time, we're speeding up the process of us revealing our pure diamond self, our pure light of the Creator self, our perfect self. So just let the shapes be engraved in your mind's eye. Resh, He, Ein. And then if I can ask you, sit comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the floor, hands in your lap. Taking a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose. Hold the breath for a moment. Exhale through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose, taking in fresh air, which contains the light of the Creator. Let it flow from head to toe, activating all the light inside you. Exhale, letting go of whatever blockages, tension, stress, the confusing thoughts. Beginning the circulation of the air physically and the light spiritually to flush out all the darkness, the negative thoughts, previous behaviors. And let's envision the Resh, He, Ein, just above your head, shining, this pure light of the Creator, vibrating with the ultimate fundamental power of unconditional love, and specifically the energy to transform our chaos, negativity, our not quite fully revealed self into that pure and perfect light beingness. Resh He Ein. Turning that part that's still coal inside of us into a diamond, the pure light of the Creator. And slowly allow those three energy forces that are bonded together in this frequency to enter through the top of your head. Feel it, sense it. Open your heart to let it in. The ability to see the good in you, the true potential, the you that the Creator implanted inside. Resh He Ein. Giving you the vision of what you look like as the Creator looks at you. And now let this energy, Resh He Ein, flow from head to toe inside you, removing the mud, removing the blockages, removing whatever previous negative behaviors you have done, and allowing you to access the full light of the Creator inside you. Feel that vibration. If you want, ask. As you're connecting to your pure self, your true soul energy, ask where you may be blocked, how you can remove the confusion. Ask its support and guidance. And listen for the answer with your heart. Resh He Ein. Bringing the good from the bad, the light from the darkness. And now that we've seen more of our pure and perfect self, let's extend a beam of this light, of the vibration, Resh He Ein, from our heart and soul to the heart and soul of family and friends. See it, feel it, or just think it, extending from you out to them. And then let it pass through them, activating their pure and perfect self and extending out to all the rest of the people on the planet, to the heart and soul, that piece of the Creator that's implanted in each of us. That in our unity, with our consciousness joined together, we reach and awaken the light inside every person on earth. That everyone is having a strong, clear awakening of their light, a conscious awareness of some aspect of their behavior that has not just been detrimental to others, but the clear realization that their actions have reflected back to them, and that their chaos is not because of other people. Their chaos is because of their own chaotic behavior. And know that as you're sending the light out from your heart and soul, that you're allowing a stronger flow from above, from the metaphorical upper worlds, where the infinite light is, that is flowing through you constantly as you're sending out to the world. Did we speed up the process of this revelation of unconditional love, peace, and unity? That we are activating with good pressure every one of us to act with greater love, kindness, and compassion towards all, without exception, all human beings. See the world at peace. Smiles on every face, health, vitality, all the blessings of the Creator. Abundantly for each person. And take note of that greater sense of peace you're already feeling. The guidance, the warmth, and the love of your pure soul to you and to others. Commit yourself to keep this vision, this feeling, this energy and vibration with you more strongly from this day forward, more consciously each moment and each day. And we take one more deep breath, anchoring it, solidifying it in our heart and soul, and slowly exhale and open your eyes. Those of you who come out today, thank you for joining me here in the Boca Center. Those of you online, lots of light and love and blessings and miracles for all of us. That the miracle, which is the goal and the desire of every great sage on earth through all time, has just been to see peace on earth. God bless. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. If you have any questions, those of you here or out there, just write me, right on Facebook, and please do me a favor. Those of you go home, go on Facebook, if I can ask you, and forward this video. And those of you who are now with us streaming, just wait a minute once we shut it off, and then just push share. Let it go out, cause and effect to the right people who are waiting for you to share this, that they need this message in this moment of their life to not fall into the darkness, but actually to reveal a lot more light. God bless, have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.